So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy Ellen. I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute, man. And the next video is gonna be researchers discovers what no one was supposed to see. Now, real quick, you know why I'm fascinated by researchers and scientists and stuff like that, man? Not only do they give us a glimpse into what things were like in the past, you know, how people or animals lived or how things were, different things like that. But it's also a discovery aside of them as well that I'm intrigued by. And that's the stuff that they discover that the people who placed it there or reason it was there, they didn't want discovered. You know what I mean? So it's also an intriguing side of them finding things that was meant to be there and them discovering it. And then it's like, uh-oh. And now they have to, you know what I mean, kind of keep it secret. But normally those type of stories, you hear years down the line. This researcher or scientist discovered something that possibly the government was hiding or this agency was hiding. And now it's like their life was forever changed. In that moment, their life was forever changed for that discovery. And to hear those documentaries and those stories, man, it's so like intriguing to me, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm always into this type of stuff, man. It's just fascinating, you know? I'm just, and at the same time, bro, I'm different. I'm weird. I guess I'm weird. So it is what it is. I embrace that side of me, all right? So we're gonna get into this video. If you're new to the channel, man, hit that subscribe button, join the fam, leave a like for your boy at the end of the video, man. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, but let's get to it.
About it, life is just all about losing stuff and finding it again. At least that's what I tell myself when I misplace my keys. But that's also the key to archaeology. Everything old is new again, but it's also still old. So let's dive right in. From stolen Nazi gold to a lost medieval broadsword, let's take a look at the 20 strangest discoveries found on Earth. Number 20. Stolen World War II gold. Sadly, Indiana Jones does not exist, nor does Tomb Raider. In real life, archaeologists are pretty conflict-avoiding kinds of people, but that doesn't mean that others aren't making the type of finds even Indiana Jones would get giddy over. In fact, quite the opposite. On April 4th, 1945, as the war was drawing to a close, the American army advanced north of Frankfurt, 3,000 citizens. There, the slave laborers tipped off the soldiers about Nazi treasure that had allegedly been hidden in the abandoned salt mine. Of course, by this point, there were rumors of Nazi treasure pretty much everywhere. None of it had ever been proven to be true. But hey, there's a first time for everything, right? The army strapped themselves in and went descending into the mine. Down there, they found a vault door that could easily have belonged in a high-security bank. They blew up the door, forced their way inside, and discovered they hit the jackpot. They found over 100 tons of stolen gold. Not bad, eh?
100 tons, fam. That's when you look around the room, when you discover, you look around the room at the people in there with you, and you're like, am I safe right now? Huh? Because money changes you, bro. Money, gold changes people. Yo, people you thought that was your homies, your friends, change on you and flip the script in a minute.
The war is over and the soldiers discover a reward that is infinitely better than any of them could have imagined, and they didn't even have to beat anybody up on a horse. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede—
Yeah, but you think anyone probably ain't even let them keep it, you know? Now, it's something that was tucked in somebody's pants and shirt and book bag and everywhere they could tuck and hide some.
will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. It's time for the rare topic. Dr. Bantu claims that early humans were born in eggs. Weird, right? Well, if you ask him, this researcher discovered what no one was supposed to see. He found fossils of giant eggs a few miles out at sea and concluded that they could not possibly belong to birds or reptiles, but to humans. And while many scientists are, well, not even skeptical, they're outright dismissive of his theory, Bantu remains convinced. He says the bones are clear and unmistakable, with some being enormous in size and shape. This picture illustrates how Bantu believes humans were originally birthed onto the planet. But, well, we'll let you make up your mind. Is this guy out of his mind, or do you think he might be onto something? Remember to comment down below with the hashtag #RareTopic and let us know your opinion. And now to the next topic. Number 19. 600-year-old sword. Sometimes treasured artifacts go missing. We've all experienced this. Maybe you put your Tamagotchi down in the wrong place, and suddenly your baby's missing. It's actually kinda terrifying. Tamagotchis are really just...
Well, every time somebody grab a sword, the kid come out of them. And they go through all the little moves and everything that they used to do as a child and annoy their parents. You know what I'm saying?
parental crisis simulators. Arms and motor specialist Howard Dixon has worked for Christie's auction house for over 25 years. The guy has seen every kind of blade imaginable, but one has always slipped through his grasp. The Harriet Dean sword. This is one of the last remaining swords from the arsenal at Alexandria, and when it vanished in 1943, it seemed to have been lost forever. For much of the last century, academics and enthusiasts have searched high and low to try and find the missing sword, but they've been unlucky. Then, when he met with a regional representative selling his wares in 2016, Dixon saw the missing blade in his photo portfolio. Dixon recognized the sword thanks to the inscription on the blade, confirming that it was indeed the missing sword of Alexandria. The sword, which had been missing for decades, was finally coming home. It would possibly be able to join its twin sister in her home at the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art. Indy would be proud. It belongs in a museum. Number 18. Sorceress Kit. Is magic real? It's one of the big questions about our existence, which is wizards and the like are things that we all wished existed, if only to help us cure our own personal problems, but there's never been any concrete proof that they do indeed exist. But this next find may illuminate an answer, or it could just keep us in the dark as usual. While excavating an area of Pompeii, archaeologists found 100 tiny items. The items included buttons made of bone, carved scarab beetles, mini penises, crystals, tiny skulls, and small dolls. According to the archaeologist, it's believed that these items make up a sorceress's toolkit, then used for fortune-telling and to bring good luck to anybody that needs or wants it. Of course, we all know how the story of Pompeii went, so I'm guessing good luck wasn't a particularly great friend to these people. Restorationists did their best to bring the items back to their original glory, while the archaeologists continued to search for what these items could possibly have been, but the common conclusion is that they have something to do with female life in Pompeii. The most common theory is now that they were used as some kind of fertility ritual, which makes more sense than bringing good luck to a city that was destroyed. Number 17. Children's remains.
Wow.
Peruvian history is a strange thing. Sure, you have some truly incredible works of art and cultural discoveries, but you're also looking at a people who had some very unusual and, in modern eyes, sinister traditions. I'm talking specifically about their love of sacrificing kids. Archaeologists were excavating the site once known as Juan Chiquito Las Lamas, which 500 years ago was controlled by the Chimu Empire. What they found were the remains of over 140 children, which they said showed signs of being killed by expert hands. The victims appeared to be of different ethnic origin, each one brought to this bluff from far in the empire.
Now, after hearing that, You think you really had it hard as a kid? Now, I'm not taking nothing away from anybody's story whatsoever. You know what I mean? But some people just be playing upon that, oh, I had it rough as a kid. You really don't know what rough is. You get what I'm saying? But they had to experience that. That's rough. That's beyond rough, for lack of a better word.
But why were these children killed? It's believed that the ancient Peruvians would offer these children up as a sacrifice in response to heavy rains. They hoped that the gods would accept their sacrifice and bring them milder or more tolerable weather. Yeah, not a good look. Obviously, every community and ancient people had their own beliefs and worldview, but you have to question the decision to kill kids because of the weather. That seems like quite an overreaction. Number 16. World War II Enigma Machine. Modern divers are interested in more than just seeing a few fish drown by the seabed. They're out there looking to find some treasure or some kind of fascinating historical artifact that could change the face of humanity. Modern divers are kinda like underwater archaeologists, but you know, without movies made about them. These German divers were exploring the Baltic Sea, looking for discarded fishing nets. They were hoping to clean up the ocean, a very worthy motivation by the way. Instead, they found what they believed to be a typewriter entangled in a net. When they got closer, they realized what it was. It wasn't a typewriter at all. They were looking at a rare Enigma cipher machine used by the Nazis during World War II. They came to believe the device had been thrown overboard by a submarine. Pretty amazing find. Back in the day, the Nazis would use these machines to send and receive secret messages during the Second World War. Unfortunately for them, the British had managed to crack the code, allowing them and their allies the upper hand in the struggle to control the Atlantic. And these guys found the very machine used to make those communications. Sometimes it pays to care about the environment, kids. Number 15. Witch Bottle. How do you keep evil spirits at bay? You just reach for a bottle of witch, obviously. Okay, so that's not a thing, but at one time it was believed that the best way to keep spirits at bay was to use a so-called witch bottle. During the Civil War, Union soldiers would carry a glass jug filled with rusted nails with them. It originates in 16th and 17th century England, where people would use these bottles to protect themselves from curses placed on them by witches. The cursed would fill the container with bent pins or nails and add urine or human hair. They would then bury the bottle near the home's fireplace, believing that the heat would cause it to shatter and break the witch's spell. It was long believed that this practice wasn't particularly common in America, but now archaeologists have found one of these so-called witch bottles in Virginia, at a site once taken over by Union troops. It's believed that the superstition was brought to the US by British immigrants, but it also highlights just how fearful Union soldiers must have been during the war. They weren't only afraid of the enemy soldiers or death, but also afraid of something beyond death. Imagine that. Number 4.
See, that's something like you would probably find down in New Orleans. I would look for stuff like that in New Orleans. Not saying I want to purchase it or anything like that. Now, I ain't got no issues with but I would feel like you would find stuff like that or similar or have a background story similar to that in like a New Orleans, man, because that's all I got the vibes for down there. That was my first time going. Remember I told y'all? And that was the vibes I got down there. They had all these fortune tellers and different things in the middle of the streets and just that whole vibe down there was just... It was crazy, man, to experience for the first time. Those who have been, y'all are used to it by now. But for me, that was just like a complete culture shock to see some of the things that I saw, to hear about the history of certain places and different things like that down there. It was fascinating to say the least.
14. Oldest human drawing. We have no idea when humans were first drawing, but we can take a look through history and find many ancient drawings of us that remind us that it was a long time ago. Case in point, this. Archaeologists exploring a cave in South Africa found a smooth flake of silkite about an inch and a half long, covered in scratch-like markings made with ochre. The cave appears to have been a place for small groups of humans, a place to rest before going out about their daily hunts. The cave appears to have been a place for small groups of humans, a place to rest before going about their daily hunts. About 70,000 years ago, the cave was closed, sealing in the artifacts for all time. As sea levels and sand dunes rose and fell, the cave opened and closed again, preventing the artifacts from being swept away to sea. But the finds within remain fascinating. They're perfectly preserved, and everything within, from the drawing to the crafts, show that humans have always been creative. So yeah, archaeologists actually discovered the oldest human drawings, and likely the oldest human crafts. I don't know if it's even possible we'll ever find something that dates our existence back beyond this, but hey, it's also a reminder that creativity is a fundamental human trait, which is great news for talented voice-over artists like myself, and to a lesser extent, for you. Number 13. Wolf's Head. Honestly, I don't know if there's anything I would want to find less than a decapitated animal head in ice, but here we are. Siberia is full of weird stuff like this, long dead animals just waiting to be discovered by people who get a kick out of it. In this case, we have locals looking for mammoth ivory who happen to find the remains of a
You don't even need to know, but you could tell that thing was vicious.
40,000-year-old wolf, or at least the remains of its head. The wolf had been perfectly preserved within the permafrost, complete with its teeth and fur. When
Look at that. Look at that. Like I said, you don't need history to tell you, bro. You could look at that and say, man, imagine what they had to deal with, or how they had to defend themselves and keep themselves safe and secure the perimeter when they're sleeping and keep a listen out. Like, just imagine against things such as this or whatever else they had to encounter.
the head was finally recovered, it was brought to the Mammoth Studies Department at the Academy of Sciences, Republic of Saka. According to them, this is the very first time the head of an ancient wolf was found whose soft tissue had been preserved after 40,000 years. Not bad, eh? Apparently, the department had seen many wolf cubs, but had never actually gotten to see a fully grown wolf being brought in from the cold. What kind of things will they discover? Well, we don't know yet, but I'm sure it's going to be something fascinating or terrifying.
I would want to know if they ever found one like whole. That way they could see what was in its stomach contents, like what they were eating. That lets you know as well. You know what I mean?
Honestly, it seems like those are the only two options when it comes to scientific discovery. Number 12. Untouched Maya artifacts.
Wow.
As if we don't already know, an archaeologist's job is just to discover things long forgotten, and that usually means they have to go venturing into the dark, potentially dangerous caves, with little idea of what could be lurking inside. So when archaeologists ventured into the so-called Cave of the Jaguar God, it was kind of a touch-and-go situation as to what they would find. Fortunately for them, they did not encounter the Jaguar God. The archaeologists went looking for a sacred well beneath the ancient Maya city of Chichen Itza, and instead discovered a treasure trove. Within, they found over 150 ritual objects untouched for over 1,000 years. The objects were believed to hold clues to the rise and fall of the Maya civilization. Pretty fascinating stuff. Definitely preferable to walking right into the tomb of the Jaguar God. Interestingly, farmers first discovered the cave in 1966, but was never excavated. Instead, the entrance was sealed up and left for 50 years, until modern archaeologists decided to go see what was waiting within. Because all records of its contents have been seemingly never made public, they had no idea what to expect. Fortunately, it all worked out. It could easily have become Indiana Jones and the Tomb of the Jaguar God. Number 11. Skull Rack. We've already covered the Peruvians' love of ancient sacrifice, but it's always worth remembering that they were far from the only ancient civilization sacrificing people on a regular basis. May I introduce you to the Aztecs, another civilization that seemingly could not help themselves. In the heart of Mexico City, archaeologists discovered what they described as a skull rack, or to be more specific, a massive ceremonial skull rack. Apparently, Aztec rulers would project their power by sacrificing humans, and when they did, they would use the bleached white skulls of sacrificed warriors from rival kingdoms as a warning to others.
So just basically just put it out on display. Like, be careful of what you're walking into. This is what we do over here.
This particular rack was pretty impressive, measuring about 112 feet long and 40 feet wide. That's a lot of room for skulls. I don't even want to know how many hundreds of skulls could have been arranged on that thing, but I can only imagine how terrified others must have been to see it. Clearly, ancient civilizations were built and run on the power of human sacrifices. Will we ever find a civilization that didn't willingly offer up their own people in exchange for something of their own? My bet is on no, but I am open.
That's a lot of death. That's a lot of death, man. And then you just look at each one of them and you just start to think to yourself like, wow, this person's life, what was the reason they were sacrificed? Why were they done? How did they feel about it? You know what I mean? You start to submerge yourself into the what was and what was the reasoning. And, you know, we know sacrifice, but what could that person have been thinking as this was going on? You know what I mean?
Open to being proven wrong.
Wow.
Number 10.
Wow.
Ancient Roman eggs. How long do you think ancient eggs could last? I mean, we're talking about a time before refrigeration. I honestly would not like to find out, but here we are, about to find out. Archaeologists excavating a 1700-year-old settlement in central England happened to find eggs dating back to the Roman occupation, but while finding them was kinda cool, the real problem came when someone broke them open. That's oof. Good luck with that one. The eggs have been found among a collection of rare items, but after the 2 eggs cracked, the foul stench was all anybody could remember. The smell was described as being so pungent that one archaeologist had to go out and vomit. Probably not a great day for that guy, but as one of the dig managers said, the fact that they even got 1 egg out intact is a major achievement. They were incredibly fragile, so if there's one lesson to take away from this, it's that you should never dare to open rotten eggs. You already knew that, but it's nice to know that the rule stands even for eggs thousands of years old. Actually, it may apply even more to them. Number 9. Giant Stone Sphere. You remember the opening to Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indy has to flee from the giant rolling boulder chasing him down? Turns out that's not totally impossible. I mean, we have yet to discover that it's happened, but we found a giant stone sphere, so... In a forest in Bosnia, a controversial archaeologist named Samir Hasmanagic found what he described as a giant stone sphere. When inspected, the sphere measures around 4 to 5 feet in diameter and has an impressively high iron content. According to...
Now stay with me, right? Stay with me. Because I was thinking about this after I saw this on another video, right? And I got to thinking, I was like, yo, what if that sphere... Like, maybe we need to take that sphere and, like, lock it away in something or put it in some type of, you know, big encased safe place, right? Because what if it was planted here by something extraterrestrial? Or what if, you know what I mean? And they're strategically planted, and it's the time that they're gonna open up or go off or separate, and then something happens. You know what I mean? Don't call me crazy or delusional, just a thought, you know what I mean? We've all seen those type of movies where we don't understand why something is what it is, and then all of a sudden one day, it makes sense, and they all set off, or they all open up, or they all release a gas, or they all do something. You know what I mean? Yeah, I could be called crazy, but just a thought. Maybe we need to take these things and lock them in something. That way, if they do, we're prepared. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Sacsayhuaman himself, this could well be the oldest stone sphere ever to be made by humans. However, it's worth noting that this guy is not always so reliable. He once claimed to have found ancient pyramids in Bosnia, but when officials went to check them out, they did not exist. There's also the fact that we've seen dozens of stone spheres made by humans in Costa Rica. That said, this sphere is about twice as large as those, so it's not impossible that this could be both the oldest and the largest stone sphere ever created, but that's really a question for history. We have no idea if this guy is right or wrong, so I'll leave it up to you guys to
Listen, man, the guy they always call crazy is crazy until he's not. Always remember that. He's crazy until he's not.
make your own minds up. Number 8. Nazca Lines. The Nazca Lines remain one of the most fascinating and honestly beautiful discoveries of recent times. When we tend to focus a lot on the artifacts and the items that are recovered, here we're looking at some more long-lasting art. This is quite literally a work of art. The Nazca Lines are a group of huge line drawings that appear from a distance to be carved into the earth. They cover an area of about 190 square miles in total. We still don't know anything about why they exist, but we do at least know when they were created. The ancient Nazca people were constructing these over 2,000 years ago. However, some of the drawings predate even the Nazca culture, which raises a whole other set of questions. But regardless of who created them or how, it's hard to argue that we're not looking at some truly beautiful works of art. I mean, it takes a lot of effort to carve a drawing into the ground, even if you're just doing it to be viewed from the earth. To somehow make a shape that can only be viewed from the sky is, I don't even know where you would begin with that. Number 7. 3,300-year-old bird claw. While we may think the world revolves around us, it's good to be reminded now and then that it doesn't. The Earth existed long before us, and it will continue to turn, even after we've died. I'm sorry to be the one to break that news to you. I mention this because scientists may have discovered a bird that we didn't even really know about. It predates our existence, and it's kind of a mystery. In 1987, the New Zealand Speleological Society were exploring the cave system of Mount Owen when they found this, a claw. What exactly this claw belonged to is very much unknown. It is believed to have belonged to a dinosaur, but that's mostly a hunch. There's no way to know for sure. However, the scientists got very excited about it because the claw still had muscle and skin tissue attached to it. Of course, anybody that's seen Jurassic Park knows that this is not great. That probably means that someone will go out and develop a way to reverse engineer the DNA, and from that point, it's a real slippery slope. I'm not sure any of us are prepared for the eventual arrival of revived dinosaurs. Number 6. Jade.
I know we be making fun of it, but sometimes it just feel like, you know they out there doing it, right? You know it's being done.
Discs. Time to venture back to ancient China now, and figure out what the heck these jade discs are for. Well, according to history itself, they've been used for just about everything you could imagine. From the earliest times of their use in the Neolithic period, the jade discs were buried with the dead in the hopes they would accompany the dead into the afterworld. Typically, they would be buried with the wealthy or high-status people. In fact, that's the next most common reason for their existence, to symbolize the ranks of emperor, king, duke, marquis, viscount, or baton. Each disc would have different markings on them to identify each, but there's yet another use for their existence. During the Zhou dynasty period, the discs were used in war. When the defeated forces would accept their loss, the leader would hand over the disc to the victor as a sign of submission. So yeah, the Bai discs have had many uses and purposes.
So that's like the equivalent of you losing like a race and then you having to turn over your car keys. You know what I mean? My bad, y'all. My son made me watch Fast and Furious last night, and I think we gotta watch more today. He's into cars, so my bad. Just that's the only reference I had.
Who knows which was used for which? All we know is that they belonged to the wealthy and powerful, and always symbolized death of some kind or another. Number 5. Sacsayhuaman. Sometimes when they're playing with Lego, kids can build something incredible that makes you say, how the hell did you think of that? If you manage to climb the Peruvian Andes, you may well find something in real life that will make you wonder the exact same thing. The city of Cusco is hidden anyway, in the Andes, and it stands as a reminder of just about everything the Incas ever managed to accomplish. It's now believed that most of the Inca sites and their constructions were built in less than a century, and when experts come and see them today, they remain absolutely baffled at how they could possibly have been constructed. Sacsayhuaman is an architectural triumph made up of 3 layers of zigzag walls. The boulders weigh hundreds, maybe even thousands of tons, but the precision and accuracy in which they fit together is mind-blowing. It's been said that the walls of Sacsayhuaman are so tightly held together that not even a piece of paper could fit in between the cracks. It remains a complete mystery how the Incas could possibly have transported these boulders and then constructed them together as they did, and we will never be able to know the truth. Really makes you think.
Wow.
Number 4. Gobekli Tepe. If you're headed to Turkey looking for something that will get you into the history books, there's pretty much one place you want to go above all others, Gobekli Tepe. This is the home for archaeological finds in Turkey. Except for, all the others. Gobekli Tepe dates back over 12,000 years and somehow doesn't look any different than it once did. The intense Turkish climate is something of a blessing, but it's also thanks to an ancient process that saw the temple sites getting backfitted before they were abandoned. Today, though, archaeologists love coming to this ancient site in search of something new, something old, something borrowed, or something else that rhymes. But even now, nobody knows or understands how Gobekli Tepe was possibly built. The sheer size of the structure would surely require hundreds or thousands of people working on it, and yet we have no clue. One of the only things known about Gobekli Tepe's origins is that it was built after the Ice Age, which, if true, means that this would easily be the oldest temple in the world. Honestly, if that was the only claim to fame for this place, that's still pretty dang impressive.
True.
Number 3. Poland Man. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There are very few worse ways to go than to die in a bog. It's just every definition of bleak, but hey, at least those unfortunate souls who die in a bog have their bodies preserved for all time. That was not the outcome any of us expected, I'm sure. The Poland Man is a body that was discovered preserved in a bog in Denmark. According to scientists, the guy died around 300 BC by hanging and somehow somehow had his body preserved in the bog for over 2,400 years. When they examined his body, the scientists discovered that he had eaten his final meal around 12 to 24 hours before his death, and they even discovered what it was he ate: porridge and fish, two items that were commonly found during the Danish Early Iron Age. Unfortunately, the guy was probably going to die anyway. According to the scientists, he was in very poor health, with traces of parasites found inside his gut, so even if he hadn't been hanged, it's unlikely that he would have made it much longer. I'm sure that would give him some peace of mind. Number 2. Dinosaur embryo. Here we go again. Another Jurassic Park nightmare. Yeah, it's true, my friends. It's very true. Scientists really are discovering dinosaur embryos, and we all know how that thing turns out. We should probably be more concerned about this, but then the human...
And what's to come. That's all we need to be concerned about, man. And I keep hearing in the back of my mind, people that were older than me when I was young saying, you know, they don't make movies about nothing that ain't true. Like, when you start seeing more of this type of stuff here, you start thinking, any minute now we'll see something that's gonna, you know what I mean, make that statement valid.
An instinct to a crisis is to focus on Kanye, so I guess it's all going to plan. The embryo fossil was discovered in Guangzhou, China, and it's believed to be around 66 million years old.
Wow.
According to scientists, the embryo fossil is perfectly preserved within a fossilized egg, and it was preparing to hatch. We don't know what happened or what caused it not to hatch. We just don't know. But the fossil has since been named Baby Yingliang, and it's been described as the best dinosaur embryo ever found in history. Is that a good thing? Probably not. We'll see. The fossil was actually found over 20 years ago by a mining company called the Yingliang Group, but it was put into storage with other fossils for over 10 years. Eventually, somebody had the good sense to take another look at the find, and wouldn't you know it, they discovered they had a dinosaur embryo right here. And again, the world responded by debating Kanye West's latest Instagram post. Man, we're doomed. Number 1. Mexican stoneheads. Everybody knows about the stoneheads out on Easter Island, but what about the ones in Mexico? What about the stoneheads in Mexico? Why is nobody paying attention to the stoneheads in Mexico? Oh, you don't know about them. Yeah, that makes sense actually. The Olmec colossal heads are said to be stone representations of human heads sculpted from basalt boulders. They vary in height from 3.8 feet to 11.2 feet, all of them dating back to at least 900 BC. But they all reflect human heads, as they were back in those days, the Olmec civilization. Fleshy cheeks, flat noses, slightly crossed eyes. But that's not the only thing archaeologists found in Mexico. They also found a cemetery approximately 1,000 years old, featuring human skulls warped into bizarre alien-type shapes. This was apparently a common practice in Central America back in the day. Adults would commonly deform the skulls of children as they grew, for reasons that remain unclear to us. The cemetery, however, contained the remains of 25 human burials, 13 of which had deformed skulls and 5 of which had mutilated teeth, so maybe the strange shape of the giant heads were actually 100% accurate to how people looked at the time. Which of these crazy finds would you like?
Listen, man. Some of this stuff make you nervous. Like I said, the finds of the eggs and the things inside, you know, because, you know, it could lead to DNA extraction and them trying to, you know what I mean, bring back or see if they could reproduce that species again. You know what I mean? And it all starts there. So if you'd be naive to think it's not possibly going on. You'd just be naive. It might not be, but I'm not going to rule out the fact that it is. You know what I mean? Absolutely though, bro. Some of these discoveries are just amazing, man. And like I said, it gives you insight as to, you know, how things were back then. in this video here, particularly, we heard about a lot of sacrificing that was going on back then, you know, from children, using sacrifices and the skulls from sacrifices as protection out front to say, you know, this is what we do over here. You might want to stay away. You know what I mean? All different aspects of it, bro. It gives you a light in how things were back then, you know? So my question is to you, would you have survived? How do you think life would have been for you back then, you know? Are you thankful or happy that you grew up in the times that you did? Or would you wanted to be back then, to grow up back then? You know what I mean? Y'all let me know in the comment section. Just asking, ain't nothing serious, or you gotta go into this deep, long, and you know what I mean? Like you either turn in a paper for history class. No, just asking a question though. Y'all let me know in the comment section. And stick around and stay tuned, man. Until next one, I'm gone. Peace.